everyone. Good morning once more. Welcome to the second session of day 2 of the Zambian Conservation Careers Fair 2020. In this session, we're having an interesting conversation with Mr. Benson Kanyembo from Conservation South Luangwa, who is a law enforcement advisor there. Mr. Kanyembo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Today, we're going to get into a bit more details with Mr. Kanyembo about his life on the front line. My first question, obviously, has to be: growing up, what did you want to be? Did you ever think law enforcement officer was in the cards for you?
Yes, from the time I was born, my mom was working as a prison warder. My father was working as a Zambia police. So I just grew up in that law enforcement background, and I had it that I would want also to join, but not as a policeman. I wanted to be a soldier, but along the way, it didn't work out. I ended up being where I am today because of the things that were happening on the background, on where I was growing up. Yes.
Okay, that's really good. This is a great story of how your parents' careers can actually influence your career choices. This was a very great turnout for you. So for everyone that is just joining us or has joined us earlier, we're speaking to Mr. Benson Kanyembo from Conservation South Luangwa. Please leave him questions concerning his job in conservation on the front line, and we will be able to answer them later on in the session. Now, obviously, we're curious to know about your journey. In your biography, you have risen through the ranks patiently and in a great way. You've gotten a lot of recognition. And before we get to the recognition, I would like to know how you moved from Pika to Mfue as a Conservation South Luangwa's law enforcement advisor.
Yeah, well, like I said, when I was growing up, while I was at secondary school, I was seeing bad things happening between Mpika, Chinsari, and the Soka. So I became an informant to North Luangwa Conservation Informant Network. When I was done with school in 1994, I was given a chance to start work. It was not an easy job because I started like someone who was not trained, who didn't know anything. So I learned everything in the field. I started like as a porter. I would carry all the patrol rations for the 4 government officers that I was working with, cook for them, do everything that needs to be done. Whether it means arresting poachers, chase the poachers the way they are chasing. So it took me like 3 years from 1994 to 1997 when I was now promoted from a porter to a village scout. By then, the Owens, because the North Luangwa project was run by Mike Owen and the wife, some things happened and they went out. So in 1997, we were taken over by the government as a village scout. I continued doing the best that I could. I was promoted as a radio operator stroke storesman because people considered me to be too honest. A lot of people were, fearing to work with me because he will come and say the truth. He wants, things, which sometimes was not good. Other people, would say bad things, give me names for being honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So in 2000, there was the changeover from the Department of National Parks to Zambia Wildlife Authority. So I was picked up as a community scout. Fortunately, in 2003, there was the reintroduction of the black rhinos. So I was chosen also to undergo that training, a tough training conducted by Mike Rabusheni, a South African ex-major. The training was so tough, and we were already the in-services, and here comes this training. But we were promised that those of you who are not wildlife police officers, you'll be promoted if you finish this training. So we were like 60 in-service officers, and only 28 of us made it. It was really tough. I had the toothache, I had the boil on my back, but I did the best that I could, and I was one of the first 3 who did well, and I was automatically promoted as a wildlife police officer. That was the opening of everything, you know. All these bad things, all the things that I went through when I just started, that was the end of that. It was now the new beginning. Everything opened up, and I was selected to
Fortunately,
a mentorship
we,
of being
we
an instructor, training other people to be wildlife police officers. So from 2003, I worked for the Rhino Protection Unity stroke an instructor. For 3 years, I started training other people in Zambia. So from that time up to date, I have trained about 600 people in Zambia, in Zimbabwe and Malawi. So in 2008, because of how I was doing my work, I was transferred from North Ruangwa to South Ruangwa National Park to come and help the trainings at the Nyamaruma Training Center. The training was tough, and we had a cutting point of 60%. It's not everyone who could do it or make it. So it made me look bad because I was sticking to the principles. If you get less than 60%, you are done. I can't deal with you. So there were some of these political things because they wanted me to start reducing the cutting point, which I didn't
mhm,
like because I know as a leader, you need to be tough. You need to be physically fit. So you can't just bring in any people as if it is these other employments. So that battle made me feel uncomfortable. And that's when in 2009, I
mhm.
resigned and joined South Ruangwa Conservation Society before it changed to Conservation South Ruangwa. That was my journey from the department to now CSLO. I've been here from 2009 to date.
Wow, you have the great experience in law enforcement. I really like that you brought up. I like how you started as a runner. This is something that keeps coming up in the conversations we have been having. Yesterday, this is something that was also highlighted. It was also highlighted earlier today in the session, and you brought it up as well. I think a lot of graduates and students in whatever field you should want to pursue. This is something that you would really like to consider. Now, Mr. Kanyembo, let's go to the topic that everybody wants to talk about. Tell us about your Tusk Wildlife Ranger Award. We want to know everything: how you heard of it, how it was announced to you, and how your trip was.
Thank you very much. I first heard about this award in October. That's why officially Task Trust wrote to me that I was nominated and I was selected as the final winner. And in November, I'll be going to London for the ceremony. You
Mhm.
know, I didn't know about it. I was surprised, and sometimes I still wake up and think it's a dream. It's not true. So we went into preparing for me to go to London, and we went
Uh-huh.
earlier before the actual day. We were there like 5 days earlier. I was told also to invite one person that I wanted. So I invited Bovax Kachari, the area warden for South Ruangwa Area Management Unit. And the people were amazed. Why can't you take your girlfriend or your wife or your relative? I said, I work with these people. For us to show that we work together as a team, I need to take this man to appreciate. I appreciate what he does and what we do together to London. Yes. So when we went there, it was a bit cold, and you know the culture itself again was very different. You would see people here in
Yes.
Zambia, walking in the street aimlessly. Our friends, when he leaves his house, he has a purpose. He works for a purpose, not just roaming about, which is good. Then the actual day when we went to the palace to see Prince William, I thought it would take a lot of time. Culturally here, if I make an appointment with you, it may even take 3 hours for you to say come in. There, it was less than 5 minutes we were received in. Before we could even put our jackets down, here comes the prince and the princess, and we were received, asked what we want to drink. He chatted to me as if he really knows me, as if he has known me, which is different from how people do it here. He asked about my family, my children, my prison time. I've been here. No one has asked me what happened in jail, what I went through. So that shocked me and changed me on how I should also be as a leader. Then the actual
Ah,
day, the house was full. The theater was really full. I was told like 500 people were there. Hey, it was just so amazing. I was a bit nervous, but when I went in front there when I was called, Prince William assured me, said, these people in front of you are afraid of you. Just talk to them. And it was so amazing. It was an experience that I'll never forget in my life. Sometimes, like I said, I wake up, I think it's a dream, but there's my certificate, there's my badge, it is real. So after the ceremony, we went to have a dinner with him there again. It was just so amazing. It was eye-opening
okay.
one or another on how we just behave here. Yeah. So
Yeah, and speaking as a leader, seeing as you picked up a lot of things from there, what would you advise a young conservationist aspiring to work in law enforcement? What is the first thing you would like them to make note of?
the first thing is to have the will to win. Because if I'd looked at my background, my dad was well to do. He had some things. And when I went to North Luangwa, the way I was treated, the way whatever I went through, if I didn't have that will to win, to say, let me stand up on my own and make my own path, I would have gone back and joined something else. So the first thing you should have is the will to
Mhm.
win. Then don't just look at money. Yes, everyone is interested in money, but if your focus is just on money, then
Definitely.
you will lose your direction.
Uh-huh.
You need to be like a long-nose truck driver. You know that is my goal, but you have got potholes that you need to negotiate, drive safely for you to reach your destination. That's what I can say. If you want to come in
Okay.
conservation to get rich, then you are joining a wrong career. Find another thing to do.
Great. Thank you so much for that. So for the graduates that are, for anyone that is aspiring for a career as in law enforcement, Mr. Kanyembo says stay focused and look beyond the money. So going to this year's theme, adaptability for survival. How has your everyday role changed, or has it changed in any way? If so, how have you adapted to this change?
I think the only change that we have is putting on masks, maintaining social distance. But where work is concerned, it is same 24/7. We can't neglect, we can't stop. So we just have to protect, follow the regulations that the government has put in place. We have reduced the number of people in the teams. Instead of going 6, 8, we are now sending them with 4s because again the coverage is just too big. The lodges and other stuff that used to move around the park are no longer working. So we need to make sure that we maintain our presence and do our work. That's the only thing that has changed. Otherwise, the rest of the things is just all the same. It's 24/7. Anytime you can call me, I'll respond, I'll do my work.
Wow, it's really good to know that we have someone reliable working in law enforcement. So, for anyone that has just joined us or you've been watching this session, please be sure to leave your questions for Mr. Kanyembo in the comment section and we will be answering them shortly. Now, Mr. Kanyembo, you have a very interesting job. Could you tell us what you find most challenging about your job?
To be frank with you, the most challenging thing is when you are beaten by in the community, people will laugh at you. When you also want to protect yourself by reacting, you will be charged, taken to prison until the court proves you that you are not guilty. That people should look into that. It is really a challenge. I shouldn't be working with fear. People should understand that these animals don't just belong to me. They belong to every Zambian. And it's not just about animals. It is about us. Because whatever we do to
Yes.
Mother Nature will come back to us in one way or another. It's like you are sleeping on the bed, you urinate on that bed. Who's going to suffer? It is you sleeping on that bed. And the nature is ours. Whatever we do, it comes back to us.
Yes.
So people should stop that negative thing of saying, no, this game guard, this ranger. It is us as a community, as a country to work together and appreciate each other. That is the biggest challenge that I see in the community. People don't appreciate because they want to eat meat. Right now, things are bad. The only thing that they want to do is to go and kill, 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 kill. But if we finish, how are we going to survive? We all suffer at
Thank
the end
you
of
so
the day
much
to
again.
finish everything.
Yes, I really appreciate that you are constantly encouraging us that nature belongs to everybody. These animals belong to everybody, and we must work together to make sure that they are available a few years down the line from now. Now, you've told us about the challenges of your job. Tell us about what you look forward to the most every day you wake up in the morning. What is it about your job that you are most excited about?
I'll give you an example. Some years back, I was invited in America. The place where I went to stay, there was not even a single bed. All I was hearing is just noise, 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 just like in Lusaka, noise pollution everywhere. But here, when I'm in the field, I'm just like Adam and Eve, you know, that nature, the just beautiness of being there, it makes me wake up and say, let me protect these things because it's just super to be there than always being in the pollution. So that's the thing that just makes me going because these animals, they don't speak. Someone has to stand up and be there for them. God did not say, go and finish these things. He said, go and rule over them. That means protect them and use them wisely. The other thing that I would want to see, I would want to see as a parent teaching our children that killing animals, cutting trees is bad. This should start from our households. The way we tell our children to say stealing is bad, that's the same way we should tell them about nature. I want to hear a pastor telling people that cutting trees is a sin because this is stealing. The way they tell us that this is a sin, that would make me a happy person.
I really like what you've said about the parents. So Mr. Kanyembo is calling parents to start teaching their children and their families about conservation as soon as possible. So if you have children that you are raising, this is something you want to start talking to them about. So after all is said and done, I feel like what would be most important is what encouragement you have to anyone that is working in conservation. I know you have said a lot of things about working in conservation and what it means to both you and I and everybody else, but what encouragement can you give generally to anyone that is aspiring to work in conservation?
We need more people in conservation. People shouldn't look at this job as if only people who are not educated are involved in this thing. No, it's not about education. It's about protecting us, our well-being. The wellness of us as human beings depends on natural resources, not only on animals. So we depend on one another and we should protect and we should do as much as possible. Whether you're not a conservationist, you can pick up litter, you can plant a tree. That means you're a conservationist. This is what our grandparents were telling us about to protect these things. So everyone, whether you are in it or not, let's work together as one. Let's stick around and do the best that we can. At the end of the day, you'll be recognized like me. I was given half of that money that I didn't know I'll ever have. So just do your work. One day, people are looking at you. One day, you will be rewarded. And God will also reward you because whatever you do to God's things, God will reward you. Thank you.
That is great encouragement. That is very great. I mean, I will definitely take it upon myself to work hard, whether being seen or not, to make sure that nature is protected. And maybe one day I may or may not get an award like you did. So I would really want to know what you earlier you mentioned that going through the training was tough and it was very difficult. Of course, you went through a lot of challenges. What kept you going all this time? Is there anything you can point out and say this is the main reason that I kept going?
When I was growing up, I saw a lot of bad things happening to our natural resources. My dad had this transport business because he was interested in the money, not on what was happening. He would pick people that are doing illegal things. And that's the thing that made me change. Say, I don't want to be a soldier. Let me be a soldier for nature. Because these animals, the way they were being killed, our forefathers ended up watching out all the rhinos. And when the relocation of the rhinos came in North Rwanda, the cost of transporting those animals was so expensive that That money, by then it was like 1 million US dollars for the first consignment. We would have used that money in developing our country. So it doesn't make sense. People kill everything, then you import things from outside. That really pains me. That really pains me. So that's one thing that makes me continue. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but when I look at left and right and say, if I give up, I've got now a lot of people that are depending on me, looking at me, then everyone is going to give up. So someone has to lead the way, whether poorly paid, harshly treated, but I know you're one of those people who deeply respect me for what I do. So we just have to be there to do what we can to help save Mother Nature in one way or another.
Of course, and well said. You are someone that is highly looked up to because of your achievements and everything that you have done. But my question now is, I know you've talked a lot about what you've been through, and you've actually given a lot of advice, and you're already established in your element. And we know every time we think of Benson Kanyembo, we're thinking law enforcement. I would just like to know if you, for career, because this is a conservation careers wild talk, are you continuing in conservation, or do you see yourself moving to somewhere else?
If it meant moving out, I would have moved out a long time ago. We need to stick around. Whether I retire, I will still need to give advice to the people that will continue in the system. I've been offered employment in Cameroon, in Malawi, big, nice monies, but I said, no ways. How can, how am I going to tell my children that I went to Zimbabwe because of money instead of protecting our own resources here? The first thing is, if we can clean our house, then I can move on to another thing. But currently, because of the COVID and other things, we are still struggling. So I just have to be here, continue pushing, train more guys, delegate more, so that I should have also a chance of training more people to take over when I retire.
That is so great. Thank you so much. We have a few questions coming in, and we'll start with this one. This is very interesting. Has there been an increase in wildlife poaching due to the global lockdown?
Yes. Remember, I said the thousands of people were laid off. They don't have any other means of survival. The first thing they look at is nature. So we are seeing, not only here in Zambia, we are getting reports all over of people going into poaching, cutting trees, doing anything that they can to survive, using poison when setting, catching fish. So there is just an increase, even in criminal itself, crime. It has gone up. Little children are selling themselves along the street at a very cheap price. All that has contributed because people are not working. There's no tourism. So it's not only poaching, a lot of things are just here.
Next one is, in your as a law enforcement advisor, what measures have you put to motivate young rangers that are pursuing your career?
Since I came back from London, I've been invited like by Chipembere Education Trust, talking to the youngsters that want to come into this. And if chance is given, I cannot just stand up on my own self going this side. If I'm called, come and help here, come and talk to the people here, I'm ready. I'll get permission from my CEO to go and groom or talk to the people that are interested. Or those that want can call me or can follow me on my Facebook. We contact one another, we start talking to one another and give them whatever advice they would want. Yes.
Yes, and I would actually give this platform as an example of how you are doing your part in grooming any young people that are pursuing careers as rangers. Our very last question for this session is, from your perspective, how do you think is the best way to tackle human wildlife conflict?
Yeah, that is a trick question because, to be frank with you, from I personally, what I can say is the government and the stakeholders and the local chiefs should start talking to one another before we give land to people, because people are just building anyhow, because there's no land use plan. As a result, if you build on the corridor of where the elephant used to pass, what do you expect? The elephant will remember 70 years it passed here, it will come here, it will find the house, it will need to pass there. You have seen pictures of Umfuero, the elephants passing there. It's because it still remembers that it used to pass there, and we have built there. I've heard of people saying, animals are coming in our areas. Animals were passing there. It's us that are invading their homes. So we need to sit down and talk. The community, the government, the stakeholders, and the chiefs, so that we should work together as one.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Kanyembo. This has been a great and very informative discussion. I'm pretty sure everyone that was watching has picked a thing or two that they can take away and keep in mind. Thank you so much for making time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For anyone that has just joined the session, please be sure to catch up on how we started the day today. And for any graduates or students that are looking for job opportunities, please visit our website, cczambia.com, and apply for the various job opportunities that are on the website. Thank you so much for joining this session. See you soon.